I set out with a $15,000 budget to transform this 2020 Jeep Willys Ecodiesel into a Rubicon killing beast of a rig. Today we are ditching the plastic-lined OEM ball joints and weak aluminum steering knuckle and swapping in some Synergy HD joints and a massive heavy iron Synergy steering knuckle. This is another video in my series I'm calling Willys Ecodiesel Evolution, the Rubicon Conquering Build. Let's get to work. We'll start out by removing the tie rod end. We're going to have to put that tie rod end back when we're done, but eventually it's going to get swapped out. I just used a strap to hold it up. The next step is using a 21mm socket to remove the brake caliper bolts. They're in there pretty tight, so I'm using my breaker bar to break them loose. Once you get those bolts out, you can take that caliper and hang it out of the way. A hook is a handy thing to do this. We absolutely never want to hang a brake caliper off the brake line. I'll have links in the description to all these handy parts and tools. Now we can use a T30 Torx bit to remove the small screw that holds the rotor on. I'm swapping my rotor out, so I don't mind hammering on it, but if you're going to be replacing and reusing the same rotor, don't hammer on it like this. Use a dead blow hammer. That surface rust is going to need to come off the unit bearing, but that's going to be in another video when I change out the brakes. Now we'll take a 10mm socket and remove the brake dust shield. With that shield removed, we can get at the speed sensor, and we have to remove that and be very careful doing it because we don't want to damage it. I used a 5mm Allen socket to remove that bolt, and you can see that it had blue Loctite from the factory on it. Now we'll use a 13mm socket to remove the bracket that holds the entire speed sensor together, and then we'll zip tie it out of the way. There are 3 bolts that hold the unit bearing in, and you use a 13mm 6-sided socket to remove those. Once those 3 bolts are removed, we're ready to remove the axle, and this can be a little bit nerve-wracking if you have never done it before. The unit bearing, U-joints, and the axle will all come out in one piece. There's a delicate seal inside that axle that we don't want to damage, so we want to make sure and support the axle on its way out. Now we can remove that weak aluminum steering knuckle. Those are great for mall crawlers, but they're not so great for people who put big tires on their rig or are serious off-roaders. You can see here how the factory does their cotter pins. That's always a big argument amongst people. What's the best way to do them? Now we can remove the cotter pins from the upper and lower castle nuts on the ball joints. And then you can go ahead and remove the upper castle nut. We're not going to need that anymore, but we're going to loosen the lower castle nut, but still leave it in place. Leaving that lower castle nut on is going to prevent the steering knuckle from going flying when we give it a couple of hearty whacks to remove it. If you're swapping out ball joints but keeping the aluminum steering knuckle, be careful beating on it. It's easy to damage it and you might not even see hairline cracks. Mine is getting replaced, so I broke out the BFH to give it a couple of good hits to knock it loose. That small part that falls out is called the tapered bushing, and that's a critical component to the new steering knuckle, so we want to save that. With that steering knuckle removed, we can start to think about pressing out the old ball joints. For my ball joint press, I went down to my local O'Reilly's, but you can go to about any part store, and I borrowed the EverTough ball joint kit number 6705, and I also borrowed the 4-wheel drive ball joint adapter set 67048, and that had all the parts I needed to press out and press in my new ball joints. It's a good idea to oil up that jack screw to cut down on the friction. 3 hands would come in real handy when you're setting up this ball joint press, but that's why I tape the adapters together. That's one less thing to fall apart when I'm trying to get this set up. My impact motor would not fit up there with that shock tower, so when I got the ball joint far enough pressed out and it loosened up, I switched to my ratchet, and that moved the process along a lot faster. On the Wrangler, you have to press out the top ball joint first, and you'll see why in a second. You can see now that I've got the press set up on the lower ball joint, the jack screw actually protrudes through the upper ball joint bore. When we go to install the new ball joints, we're going to do it the opposite way. Now we've got both OEM ball joints popped out. You can see on this one, there's a little surface rust in there. Now we want to turn our attention to those bore holes. We want to run our finger around, make sure they're nice and smooth. If they're not, we can use a file, or in this case, I only needed to use a little Scotch guard just to clean a little rust away. Even just a small amount of rust will stop the ball joints or make it harder for those new ball joints to get in. And since I've got my axle out, I use my little tool, which is a stick with a rag on the end, to clean out my axle housing. Now we're going to use the adapters from the four-wheel drive ball joint adapter set. And this adapter is a perfect fit, so it presses exactly on the flange of the ball joint, so it doesn't do any damage while it's pressing in the joint. I'm going to put a little anti-seize on the bore hole. You don't have to do that, but I want to make sure that I can get these ball joints out later on. These Synergy ball joints are greasable, and on the lower ball joint, we definitely want to have the grease fitting pointed towards the rear of the vehicle. It's critical when you're pressing in these ball joints that you start off nice and square. You don't want that ball joint going in on an angle. My old impact gun is great for doing sheet metal, but as far as pressing in ball joints, it just doesn't have the strength to do it. The other thing with the Synergy ball joints is they have an upper and a lower. So you want to use the one that's marked lower on the lower ball joint, and you want to use the one that's marked upper on the upper ball joint. I guess that makes sense. And that little raised edge that you see sticking up, that's perfectly normal. Now we can turn our attention to the upper ball joint. The same thing, make sure you get the ball joint that's marked upper, and you want to start out straight. And while I'm working that press and pressing that ball joint in, I'm taking a look at it every now and then to make sure it's continuing to go in straight. Synergy HD ball joints are known for being stiff when they're brand new. And they also want that cotter pin opening lined up perpendicular to the axle. I destroyed my little screwdriver trying to do it. It was very tough. Now we can go ahead, before we forget and pile stuff in the way, we can put our grease fittings in. On our Gladiator, I installed Dynatrac ball joints that are greasable and rebuildable on the Jeep. Click the link above to see that Dynatrac ball joint install video. The fact that these ball joints, unlike the OEM, are greasable is going to make sure they last a lot longer. Those ball joints are all set. Now we can install our steering knuckle. Let's take a look and compare the weight of these two steering knuckles. This OEM aluminum is 7 pounds. And then we turn our attention to this heavy-duty iron Synergy steering knuckle. What do we got for this one? We have 22 pounds, 2 ounces. That's like a 15-pound difference. That's huge. The first move getting the Synergy steering knuckle installed is getting it up on the ball joints and getting the castle nut and washer on the bottom loosely. And then we want to take our torque wrench and set it to 22 foot-pounds, and then tighten that lower ball joint castle nut to 22 foot-pounds. Remember that tapered bushing that we saw earlier? Well, we're going to install it now. The flat side on the bushing matches the flat side inside the steering knuckle. Synergy wants you to drive that steering knuckle up with a hammer by hitting it with a hammer. I also used a hammer and a block of wood to make sure it was as far up there as I could get it. Synergy provides some of the best instructions I've seen, and they warn you in there not to use the castle nut, the upper castle nut on the upper ball joint, to drive that bushing in. In fact, if you do, you void the warranty on the ball joints. Now we're going to torque that upper castle nut to 55 foot-pounds. Now we can install the cotter pin. If your hole doesn't line up for your cotter pin, make sure you advance the nut tighter, not looser, to line up that hole. Let me know in the comments what you think of my job I've done with this cotter pin. Now we're going to head back down to our lower ball joint and our lower ball joint castle nut, tighten that to 48 foot-pounds, and then install our cotter pin. Now we've got our new ball joints and our new steering knuckle installed. We've got some heavy metal on the front end of this Jeep Wrangler. Now I can reinstall my tie rod end, and the tie rod end nuts are single use. Don't use them over again. If you're going to torque suspension nuts, you're going to need a crow's foot for your torque wrench, and you're also going to need to back up the top of the spindle. As long as your crow's foot is sticking straight out the end of the torque wrench, then you don't have to worry about the torque value. Before I install the axle, I'm going to paint some anti-seize on the steering knuckle where the unit bearing is going to contact it. That way I can get it off easy. I'm also going to put some diff fluid on the splines and the bearing surface of my axle. The critical part of installing this axle is making sure that we don't damage the inner axle seal. We've got to get those splines on the axle to mesh with the side gears inside the differential carrier. I know the first time that I removed and reinstalled an axle, I was pretty nervous about it, but it's actually as easier than it looks. You want to make sure your speed sensor opening is pointed towards the front of the vehicle when you install the unit bearing. Now we can hit the unit bearing bolts with some blue Loctite. Those are the bolts that use the 13mm 6-sided socket. I'll get these unit bearing bolts close, and then I'll use my speed wrench, which is also 12-sided, to get them snugged up. Then we want to hit them with a torque wrench, and the torque value is 75 foot-pounds on these bolts. And don't forget your blue Loctite. Now we'll get that speed sensor bracket cut loose and get in place. On the one side, we're going to use a 13mm socket and some blue Loctite on that bolt. And then we're going to go down to the actual speed sensor. On the speed sensor, we're going to use that 5mm Allen wrench and some blue Loctite to install that bolt. And when we go to tighten it up, we're going to be super careful, because if we break that bolt off in there, it's going to be a terrible pain in the butt. Now we just have to install our steering stop spacer. Use a little bit of red Loctite on this and torque it to 20 foot-pounds. Well, it looks like we're done installing our knuckle and our ball joints, but we're not done with this build. But it does look fantastic. It looks so much better than having that aluminum steering knuckle in there. Well, those Synergy ball joints and that Synergy steering knuckle are a massive upgrade and are really going to go a long way to helping make this Jeep Willys a Rubicon killer. Was there anything wrong with the parts that were on there? No, there wasn't. But what I'm looking for is reliability, durability, and the ability to be confident in my rig when I'm out in the remote areas. I've got a lot more work to do on this Wrangler Willys to make it a Rubicon killer. And the next project showed up while I was working on this project, and we're going to put some nice brakes on here. Got a little different twist to these, so you might want to tune into that video. It should be kind of interesting the way I go about installing them and what I've got here for parts. I'll have links in the description to all the parts and all the tools that you've seen in the video. If you use the link, it doesn't cost you any extra. I get a small cut. It supports the channel, and I really appreciate your support. It really means the world to me. So this video only addressed the driver's side. I've got another video that addressed the passenger side, because the passenger side has the FAD, the FAD, and you need to know how to handle that FAD if you're going to be removing axles and putting them back. And I've actually got a video and a blog post, article, that's dedicated to how to deal with that FAD. It's got all the details and shows you exactly how to deal with it, so you don't end up messing something up and trying to jam your axle back in. It's the right way to do it, even though some people will say you can just put the Jeep in four-wheel drive and the shift collar will stay right there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my article. I'll leave a link in the description to the article and the video on the FAD, so you can find out about that if you're going to attempt to work on installing ball joints or a steering knuckle like I did here, because that requires removing that axle. So if you appreciate the video, you got something out of it, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. I still have plenty of money left in my $15,000 budget. And also, leave a comment. If you had $15,000 to spend to upgrade your rig, what exactly would you put on it for parts? I want to know. Let's have a discussion. Well, I'm Muddy Ruttzz. I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, the best is yet to come.